Hello and welcome to the July edition of the monthly update from Bridge to India on key policy and regulatory updates from India's renewable power sector. We'll start with the policies and orders issued at the central government level. We'll then move to policies and orders issued by various state governments. The Ministry of Finance finally ended the suspense over safeguard duties on solar cells and modules. The ministry approved its continuation for one more year. The duty will be levied at 14.9% for the first 6 months and then reduced to 14.5%. The duty will be applicable to imports from China, Thailand, Vietnam, and all developed countries. The extension in safeguard duty has come as a surprise since the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Commerce are already considering a higher basic customs duty of 15% and 20% on cells and modules, respectively. These duties could double after a year. It is not clear if the government will impose both the duties simultaneously. A 40% duty on modules could increase tariffs by 50 paisa to 55 paisa per kilowatt hour. This in itself is unlikely to impact solar power demand among states. However, the general trend of oversupply across the power sector will continue to influence DISCOM's decision to sign new solar PPAs. We next move to MNRE, which issued guidelines for procurement of blended renewable and thermal power. As per the guidelines, renewable power must have at least 51% share in the electricity supplied annually. Projects can be based on solar, wind, and solar wind hybrid technologies. Generators can also use storage with these projects. Generators must ensure 85% CUF during peak hours as well as on annual basis. Procurers will be free to enter PPAs of tenure as long as 35 years. To protect generators from fuel cost inflation, 25% of the PPA tariff will be indexed to coal prices. Through these guidelines, the government has thrown a lifeline to stranded thermal IPPs. Developers with renewable as well as thermal assets are likely to benefit from these guidelines. The likes of Adani, Tata, Jindal, and Semcorp could participate in tenders issued under these guidelines. The guidelines also offer an option to form joint venture. Thus, thermal IPPs with untied capacity may also look to partner with renewable generators. Next, we stay with MNRE to have a look at the benchmark costs for rooftop solar power systems for financial year 2021. The benchmark costs have been reduced by up to 24%. Systems with 1 to 10 kilowatt capacity will have a benchmark cost between 41,000 and 47,000 per kilowatt. In financial year 2020, the benchmark costs for these systems were 54,000 per kilowatt. Systems of up to 500 kilowatt have seen a reduction of 20 to 21% and will now cost between 36,000 and 38,000 per kilowatt. These costs will be applicable to all LOAs issued after 31st July 2020. As we know, MNRE decides benchmark costs on the basis of bids submitted by installers in previous financial year. Highly competitive and frankly unrealistic bids have been witnessed in empanelment tenders across the country. This has been especially the case in Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, and Delhi. Bids in Delhi were as low as 32,400 per kilowatt. We believe these bids are financially unsustainable and they raise serious concerns over installers' ability to provide quality equipment and satisfactory services to the consumers. Let's now move to CERC, which has proposed amendments to the guidelines for granting ISTS connectivity to renewable power projects. The Commission has proposed to link completion deadline of dedicated power evacuation system to that with the scheduled commissioning date of the project. Additionally, developers will now be able to seek stage 2 connectivity on the basis of letter of award or PPA. It has been proposed that the value of bank guarantee that the developers need to pay be linked to bay capacity instead of project capacity. Additionally, bank guarantee has been reduced by up to 90% to just 50 lakhs if the developer constructs the bay itself. The new proposals bring much needed clarity to the ISTS connectivity process. Extension in scheduled commissioning date of the project will now also be applicable to the completion of transmission system. This will save developers from the tiring regulatory hassles of seeking separate extensions for the two. The new proposals also bring relief to developers of manufacturing linked power generation projects, which are subject to phased commissioning spanning 5 years. Developers with large projects will benefit the most from the uniform and bay capacity linked bank guarantees. We stay at CERC to have a look at the draft power market regulations. The Commission has issued a sort of draft umbrella regulation for all power market contracts. The regulation introduces capacity as well as ancillary services contract, but does not spell out the features or specifications of these contracts. More importantly, the Commission proposes two new bodies, a market coupling operator and an OTC market operator. The market coupling operator will be responsible to discover uniform prices across all power exchanges, whereas the OTC market operator will only house information about buyers and sellers in the bilateral market. We believe this regulation is a major step towards further liberalization of the Indian power market. It will introduce capacity contracts for the first time and open up the highly regulated ancillary market to more players. Uniform pricing will be essential for linking the power market contracts with those in the financial markets, something that has been in the works for quite a while now. With regards to the OTC market operator, higher transparency in the bilateral market will increase competition but adversely impact the business of several trading licensees. We next move to the states. Andhra Pradesh has issued yet another renewable power policy. This time, the state has invited project developers to set up 120 gigawatt of solar, wind, and solar wind hybrid projects. Interestingly, all power generated from these projects will be exported to other states. Developers will be charged land lease and green energy development charges. The only incentive being offered under this policy is a 10-year electricity duty waiver for renewable energy equipment manufacturers. Setting up 120 gigawatt capacity by 2025 is frankly an unrealistic target. The lack of any incentives and escalating land lease charges would not help attracting developers either. Given the developments over the last several months in Andhra Pradesh, perhaps the only positive aspect of this policy is that the state discoms will not be procuring any power from these projects. Finally, we'll briefly touch upon some RPO related orders passed by state electricity regulatory commissions. First, Gujarat has proposed to exclude power procured from large hydropower projects for determination of its RPO targets. The state regulator claims to be following directions of the central government with respect to large hydropower technology, perhaps referring to its reclassification as a renewable energy technology. The Punjab State Electricity Regulatory Commission reduced RPO targets for financial year 2021 by 350 basis points from a total of 11.5% to 8%. This is in response to a plea by the state discom that had cited financial constraints linked to COVID lockdown. The commission also allowed the discom to carry forward the shortfall in RPO target for financial year 2020 to the next year. Those were the key policy and regulatory highlights for the month of July 2020. We hope you find it informative and useful. Your comments are welcome at contact@bridge2india.com. We will be back next month with a fresh update.